And welcome to the BCM podcast. I'm today's host, Brad Swail. To my left is Michael Searle, Searle ATX. And to my bottom, Tony Ortiz, returning guest, publisher and proprietor of the fantastic Current Revolt. Tony, how's it going?
It's going good. It's been a very busy, it's been a busy week. It feels like it's been like a month, but it's only been about a week.
You've got some wild stuff in the pots there. Behind me is George Santos. We were expecting Charles Blain to be on today's episode, and George Santos being sent to prison. I wanted to show this picture for Charles because I know he's a big fan of George, and he's really upset that he's going to prison. So, Charles, when you watch this, give me a call anytime if you need just an ear. I'm happy to lend it to you in these trying times. So, Tony, you've broken some really big stories here. I feel like, last time we had you on, I've probably said the same thing, but I think it's worth repeating because it's only more true today than it was then. You guys are doing awesome.
Thank you. I feel the same way.
It's exclusively Substack, correct?
Exclusively Substack. We have the Twitter thing going on, right? And I'll post, Twitter's got this interesting paywall option. And for people that pay for the paywall on my Twitter, I'll post like unfounded rumors that I'm just kind of like sourcing out very briefly. So like some really like draft level stuff that I'm working on. But it's almost exclusively just Substack after that.
Yeah, well, it's the reason why I bring up that Substack. Whatever. There's some great people on Substack. Michael's favorite, Matt Taibbi, many others. Of course, you guys, and y'all are making such big waves in Texas politics and Texas news from Substack, and I just think it's really fucking awesome to see. And so, keep up the great work. Awesome.
Thanks so much.
Yeah, of course, man. So much. I remember, like, I don't even know how I found y'all, but subscribing to it and be like, this is really cool. I like this stuff. So, Michael, should we start with the biggest news from Current Revolt?
I think we have to.
I like that smile.
What news would that be? I'm not really familiar.
Well, you guys broke a pretty major story, and there was, cracklings on X about what it was going to be, and people posting. I saw it was Connie Burton and
Michael Sullivan.
Yeah. I saw some random Twitter account that was, I think, like called it like pretty much to the T. And I don't remember who it was. I'm not going to go back and look at it, but it wasn't like someone big in Texas politics. But everyone was saying
it was Tony's troll account.
Oh,
jeez, definitely not. I don't have any of those.
I'm kidding.
My troll account, if I had one, I wouldn't need one because they just do it on my main account. So
there you go. So you broke a story about Representative Giovanni Capriglione. I don't know, that G is really hard for me to pronounce, so I hope I'm getting it correct. But he has some there's allegations of a sordid history. Is that the right way to say it?
Yeah, I would say so. If you want to start just from the beginning and how this all kind of came about.
I would love to know how you guys got in touch with this person.
Yeah, believe it or not, found it on TikTok of all places initially. This woman is actually quite a big, I shouldn't say quite, but she is a political celebrity on TikTok. She produces content on TikTok regarding political news, right? And found her TikTok, and she was alleging an affair, just straight up right there. And I hopped into her DMs and I said, "Hey, we work on this sort of stuff. Would love to talk to you and kind of suss this out." Right?
She alleged an affair with Representative Capriglione, or just an affair?
It was almost a year ago, but I think she hinted at an affair with an elected official, I think is what it was. I'll have to go back and check, but I can't remember if it was specifically with the representative, or if it was just a generic, like, I've been with a Texas politician. But yeah, hopped in her DMs and we met for lunch, and asked her a little bit about it and to get into it. And very, very long story short, she wanted me to publish her story, but didn't want to put her name on it. And I remember we talked about this earlier in the week, because there's been allegations that have been coaching her. We were joking about those. And she's like, "Man, I remember being mad at you because you even straight up asked me if I was just doing this for clout." And I was like, "Yeah, I did." She's like, "I remember being pissed because you didn't believe me." And I was like, "Yeah, I didn't initially." And
well, it is it is a really long, like it's a long history and it's a long story, and it's also,
yeah.
I mean, if it's TikTok influencers and some attractive woman says, I had an affair with a state representative or whatever. I mean, the first step is skepticism.
Yeah, it's just many such cases, right? And that's how I approach all these things. It doesn't matter who it is. Because with me, especially for people that have been reading me long enough, know that these things aren't really personal. They're not. I don't have anything personal against the representative. And I've done affair stories. I've done so many affair stories, and it goes all across the political spectrum. So it's not like I just am a tool for one political party or whatnot or ideology. Um, so yeah, we just basically ended it, and I flat out just told her, I was like, yeah, I can't publish this without you putting your name on it, especially considering the lack of like substantial she's got evidence, she's got photos, she's got emails and stuff, but nothing that like he was very good. She alleges that he used a burner accounts, and so the burner accounts, I've tried messaging them and going through them, and these things are old and they're long since deleted, and you can't track them down. So
like those old school like minute cell phones you buy from 7-Eleven.
Yeah. Those what were they? Boost Mobile back in our day, right?
Boost Mobile. There you go.
Yeah, the Boost phones. Yeah, with the chirping. And so yeah, we months and months and months and months later, we reconnect, and she messages me actually reconnecting, and she's like, "Well, I'd love to. Are you gonna ever publish my story?" And I just flat out said, "No. You're not putting your name on it, and I can't and won't." And she said, "Well, I'm ready. I will put my name on it." And I was a little shocked by that all of a sudden, right? And then I said, okay, well, let's take it a step further. Not just your name. I need you to do it on video because these are serious allegations. And she agreed. So we met up and we talked about her story, and we did that interview that we published on our website where she alleges a very long-term affair with the representative and her time with him, and goes into detail about that. And she makes some other wild accusations. And that was pretty much it. And we were considering going live, and I thought, man, it just need more, right? And that's when we decided to polygraph her, which is kind of unheard of, I think, at least in the publishing world. It's a little weird.
I saw y'all did that. Like y'all issued y'all released the report like a few days later.
Yeah. So, I remember talking about polygraphing her and thinking, I'm going to ask her about this. I'm going to ask her to do this, and it's going to go one of two ways. Like she's going to agree, or she's just going to get offended. Like you're asking somebody to polygraph something about a very sensitive story because you either don't believe it or you want them to double down. And or she's lying, right? Based on her reaction to the polygraph. And so I thought, okay, we can gauge some really good gauging her reaction to being asked to do a polygraph is a good sign of things, right? And so I remember calling her up and saying, hey, would you be open to doing a polygraph? And immediately she said yes. Like, yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. She's like, her exact words were, I'm making serious allegations and I would love to back that up with some science. And I'm like,
wow. And did you ask her to do this because you were skeptical, or did you just want the extra evidence?
She was so, as somebody who's done a lot of these stories, even before the polygraph, I believed her. Because of her details, and she was able to describe the inside of his house and a bunch of other things that a normal person would not generally have info for. So I believed her, but I approached this as like a third party seeing this and not having those details, and like, we need something more, right? And she agrees to a polygraph. Well, before we had the polygraph was scheduled for the following week. And rumors started to circulate that we were working on a story, and it just went wild. People were posting all sorts of salacious stuff that some of it wasn't even true, right? A good chunk of it wasn't even true, at least as far as I'm aware. I didn't read all the rumors. I was very busy, actually not on Twitter for once in a while. And I get a text message, not an email, but I get a text message that late at night, around 9 or 10 at night, from the representative, a person alleging to be the representative's lawyer, who basically threatened us and said that if we published, they were aware we were publishing a story, and if we moved forward with that story, that they would sue us. And so I haven't published this, and I'm currently deciding if I want to, but I called the lawyer immediately right after receiving those texts, and he answered. And again, this is 10 at night, and I proceeded just to ask him, like, sir, can you tell me what it is that we are going to publish that is false or defamatory? Like, I'm asking you to tell me what not to publish.
Yeah.
Right. And he wouldn't tell me. His exact words were, I'm not giving you ammunition, or I'm not giving you content or something to that effect. I'm not giving you information. And I said, well, I'm asking you again, like, tell me what I'm going to publish that's defamatory that you're going to sue me over. And he refused to tell me. And I followed up with it, said, it's hard to do, like, you're just being very general. Like, if I published that the representative was Italian, would you sue me over that? And he's like, this is very serious. He's like, you're making jokes of this. And I said, no, like, it's hard for me to take this seriously when you're threatening to sue me, but you're also failing to provide me any information at all what you're going to sue me about, so that I could benefit your client or get your client's side of the story, or not put your client in a bad position. I'm literally asking you, tell me what not to publish. And he wouldn't do it. And then he proceeded to threaten me, threatened to make me poor. Where's his exact words? He's like, I'm going to make you poor. He said something along the lines of, you're not going to be able to afford to publish the truth, which is just wild for a lawyer to say. And I just like dumbfounded. That was my face. I'm like, what's going on here?
Wait, so you said allegedly his attorney, when you like, it's weird that they texted.
Yeah, because it's got this text coming in at 10 o'clock at night. It's like, I don't know if this is his attorney, right? Like, you don't know. I call him, and then later on, they do confirm that it is indeed his attorney. So yeah, it was his attorney. But yeah, he threatens all this stuff, and that I can't afford to publish the truth. And I finally end it with, well, I have every intent to publish the truth, and I'd love to get your client's side of the story. Can you provide me your email? And he was like, it's on my website. And I'm like, well, what is your website? And he finally gave it to me. And I'm like, okay, I want to verify before we hang up. So I have him on speaker, and I'm pulling up his website, and his email's not on his website. So I'm like, sir, it's not on your website. He's like, it's there. It's next to my phone number. I'm like, I'm telling you, I'm looking. It's not here. Can you just give it to me? And he finally gives it to me. It's just like pulling like nails with this guy. It's really hard to get him to give me anything. So he finally gives me his contact info. And I tell him I'm going to contact him. And the next day we proceed with we proceed with the scheduled polygraph. And this thing, I've never seen a polygraph in person. For me, in my head, it's like the movies. You sit down, they wire you up to a bunch of stuff. They ask you 5 or 6 questions, and then you're out, right? The little buzzy thing with the chart, right? Yep. But it's a lot more science, and it's a lot more serious, and a lot less cool looking than the movies make it look, right? It was essentially, I believe, like 3 questions. And I'll have to pull up what those questions are, but it was essentially 3 questions. And those 3 questions, and getting to those 3 questions, took 4 hours. Yeah, it was 3 questions. So 4 hours, right? And I'm not joking. I literally thought I was going to be in and out in an hour.
Yeah.
4 hours. And those questions were, are you truthful? This is the polygrapher asking this of the woman. Are you truthful about you and Giovanni engaging in sex beginning in 2005? And she answered yes. And that passed as truthful. Are you truthful about Giovanni paying you cash each time you met him for sex? She said yes, and that was deemed truthful. And the third and final question was, are you truthful about you and Giovanni continuing to meet for sex until 2017? And she said yes, and that was deemed truthful. Truthful on multiple scales. There was like 3 different scientific scales that they used, and I think one of them even said it was 99.9% chance that she was telling the truth. So yeah, that took 4 hours. And I remember telling my lawyer, because so many rumors had been spread about this thing at this point. And I said, if she fails to pass this polygraph, if even one question fails, we're killing the video interview, and we're publishing the results of the polygraph saying that this woman failed a polygraph.
Yeah.
Because like, it's also not fair to him. Like, I had nothing personal against him, but if all these rumors are coming out about an alleged story that we're doing, and then we polygraph this woman, and it turns out she fails this polygraph, I'm going to kill the rumors. I'm going to say, like, yeah, this guy, you guys, everybody on the internet spreading these lies. We polygraphhed this woman, and she's not truthful. So I remember saying, yeah, like, the results, regardless of the results, I'm going to publish what the results are. And well, she passed. So I immediately emailed the representative lawyer with questions about, what was in the story and the video that we had done and everything, and also asking for an open-ended statement. No response. About an hour or 2 later, I emailed again, just pinging him saying, hey, we've got this deadline, I would love to get a response by XYZ time, no response. I think like 4 hours later, I text message him because he communicates via text. Text messaged him. I said, hey, I just want to make sure you saw my email. Are we going to get a response? Something to that effect. No response. We normally publish at 5 a.m. approximately every morning. We even push back the publishing time 2 hours just to give them an even longer time to respond. No response. So we published it. And then, of course, the rest is the history, where he finally puts out a statement that he admits to an affair. And again, I don't want to butcher his words, but he admits to an affair, then he threatens to sue us.
Yeah. He admits to an affair, not that the one alleged is the actual affair. But can I back up just a few questions, please, about so when the lawyer's threatening you, is at any point are you hesitant? Like, I don't know that I want to, even if it's like deep down, you're like, I don't know that I want to do this and get sued, because it was a pretty strongly worded message and it was a clear threat that they were going to sue you.
Yeah, also highly unprofessional. I've dealt with a lot of lawyers, both on the attacking end and defending end of things, and it was insanely unprofessional, at least in my opinion. I don't know, maybe a lawyer would disagree, but yeah, of course, like definitely concerned, like not concerned about whether this thing is the truth, but concerned about dealing with the fallout of it. Because when you get sued in Texas, it's not, or just sued in general, it's not necessarily like, I'm not worried that we're going to lose a lawsuit. Texas has phenomenal First Amendment protections, and the TCP, the Citizens Participation Act, is very powerful in Texas. But what a lot of people say is the punishment is the process, right? It's not losing it; it's about dealing with it and dragging it through the court and making this thing. Yep. You could probably make something last like 3 or 4 years if you really wanted to. Something this simple, and so like that's what I was stressed out about. I'm like, oh my god, this is going to be a pain in the ass, and so. I immediately communicate with my lawyers, and multiple lawyers, not just mine, for opinion on this. And I also have, because I posted it on Twitter, I've had multiple people that I'm not even close to hopping in my DMs from every political spectrum, talking about hardcore leftist Democrat lawyers and hardcore right-wing conservative lawyers are hopping in my DMs after I post this letter from him, this threat. And they're like, there's no way this guy's got nothing. He's highly unprofessional. Like, don't worry about it, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, those were the feelings at the time. Yeah. It
seemed desperate from my, me just from observing the thing. His statement and how he approached you seemed very desperate. I saw in the DMs, or not in the DMs, in the comments of all your posts, like all your supporters encouraging you, like, just go with it anyways if you've got the truth. Quick second question. Do you know how they found out about the story?
I have no idea. Yeah, rumors were circulating like crazy. I have zero idea. I have zero idea. I can only speculate. That just how rumors are. You say one person hears something and it just turns into a game of telephone. I think at one point I think I saw someone saying that he had committed tax fraud, and that's the story we were working on. I was just like, this is insane. But it's like the game of telephone when you're a kid. That's kind of how these rumors go.
Yeah. If the lawyer's threatening, I mean, it's a threatening, like, okay, yeah, where they're threatening you to a lawsuit. The lawyers do that. That's normal. We all expect a lawyer to threaten a lawsuit. That's their specialty. But saying, and it sounds like you have evidence of them saying this, but I'm going to make you poor. That, I think, maybe goes a step too far for what a lawyer should say. Like, there's some ethical problems there. Maybe some Texas bar problems there.
Yeah, maybe. I'm not a lawyer. I've played one in video games, but it does come off as very emotional.
Isn't there a lawyer?
Phoenix Wright Ace Attorney. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. You know it, man of culture. There you go. But it did come across as incredibly unprofessional, especially the part, and it was almost kind of a sign of what maybe the plan was. It said I had said that I had every intention of publishing the truth, and he immediately retorted with, "You can't afford to publish the truth." And I was like, oh, this is like we're going to drag you through the courts and make you just deal with the fines and the fees of just dealing with a lawsuit. Maybe, I'm not putting words in his mouth. It's just my speculation.
Sure.
But yeah, it came off as and very emotional. He was screaming at me on the phone. And I was just like, man, this is wild. But maybe it's worked before. Maybe that's a tactic that's worked in the past, where you got a guy calling you, threatening to sue the shit out of you, and make you broke the rest of your life, and you're like, well, never mind, we'll just keep that in the box.
So, I mean, this is obviously, I mean, it's surprising. I've tried to reach out to Giovanni Capriglione several times for interviews for different reasons. Not this one, obviously, because I didn't have this story in my back pocket, and it would have been inappropriate for me to do so. But what was the guy's name that had I guess, I don't know, a sexual interactions with his Brian Slayton.
Slayton. Yeah, we broke that one too.
You broke that one too. Okay. Yeah. So, I mean, two. I mean, they're certainly not the first two. They're not going to be the last two. But
right.
You look at it. Just kind of seems like, I mean, you hear stories on the federal level of all the nasty stuff that happens behind closed doors. It kind of seems like people shouldn't be looking up to these people generally. There's always exceptions, of course. Like, there's some great people there.
Politics has evolved, and this is largely due to Donald Trump, into like a celebrity type thing, where politicians are now viewed as celebrities, or like major figureheads that should be worshipped. And the problem with that is that when they do something bad, as a supporter of said politician, you end up playing defense for them. Yeah. It's gross. I really, actually, is one of my least favorite things in politics, is the way this has evolved. Because Slayton, when we published the Slayton story, kind of the same thing. His lawyer put out a statement saying that we were a third-rate media company and they were looking at options, if I recall correctly. But Slayton was on the farthest right of the conservative scale, like in the Texas House. Nobody could have been more conservative than Brian Slayton. And then he ends up sleeping. He ends up sleeping with his staffer, taking her virginity, getting her drunk. Not in that order. Getting her drunk, and then taking her to buy Plan B, all in one night, while his pregnant wife's at home, right? Yeah. And so this is the most conservative rep. And then, of course, I'm getting phone calls from his local GOP, county GOP, demanding that I apologize. And that I issue an apology to him and his family and retract the article. She ended up apologizing later to me. But, I lost subscriptions. People were furious at me. Everybody was calling me fake news, that I'm a horrible person, right? All this stuff. And then, of course, like, he voluntarily resigned, doesn't fight it, and then gets removed. And he's kind of just disappeared into the to the void. And then the opposite effect, right? I write this article about the Representative Capriglione, and most in the grassroots would label him a quote unquote rhino. Yeah. They would label him a rhino, and I'm getting calls like, "Hey, good job, thanks for doing this," like, "Thanks for," and it's just like, no, there's no consistency, right? At all.
That was Connie Burton's point with her tweet that came out the night before, right? That was what it seemed to me she was trying to say, which is the people who were defending are going to applaud in this instance.
And of course they did. She was correct, right? Like, when it's become the situation, if my guy, my politician, and I like him, does X, it's okay. It's his personal life. But if a politician I don't like does X, he needs to resign. And that's what politics has kind of evolved to now. And it's I said this on a Twitter space last night, where we were talking about the affairs, and there was a bunch of conservative staffers on there and activists and stuff. It was a Texas Twitter space, and I said, the party doesn't care about affairs. It really doesn't. Like, nobody cares about affairs. Nobody cares about sexual deviancy. At the end of the day, as long as your guy is still voting the way you want you to, like, you can look past all of that, and that's fine. But the party gives this air of like, oh, we're Christian conservative, traditional people that care about morals and ethics and values, and it's like, it's all BS. It's not true. But
so you don't have to name names or go into specific details, but I get the feeling that there's probably a lot of other rumors out there that get spread around that maybe come your way, and like they're unverifiable or something like that, but it maybe paints a picture in your minds of like what the Capitol's really like.
Yeah, I guess it's making me kind of maybe kind of jaded because I kind of know a little bit more than the average person would about what's going on in the Capitol and who's going into who in the Capitol. So it's kind of made it like where, I'm not really I don't look up to these people as figureheads or heroes. They're just politicians, right? And
Yeah.
a lot of these guys have situations where they can do stuff, in Austin, and as long as they don't embarrass their wife, the wife is generally okay with it. You'd be surprised at how many have that set up, right? Um, and then the amount of stories that I just can't move forward with. I've got a huge story now with a bigger politician in Texas, much bigger than Sid, with another mistress. And I've got the texts, photos, everything. And she won't let me publish because she's seen how the public has treated this other woman, just calling her all sorts of names and all this stuff. And she's already given me everything, but she's like, I can't come forward anymore. She's backed out. So stories going back in Pandora's box. Like, I can't do anything with it.
Oh man.
You said much bigger than Sid.
Sorry, much bigger than Representative Capriglione. I was thinking about Sid because the Tribune put out a story about Sid today, so he's definitely top of mind.
But what was it? You put out a story about Sid Miller, and there's some allegations, and Adam Lowy coming to his defense. This is a weird time in Texas politics.
Yeah, I mean, if you were to take a Visio chart and chart out all the relationships and connections in Texas politics, it would be super, super interesting. But yeah, the Tribune put out an article today, and it's so funny. It spends a good chunk of it talking about these allegations of growing weed and all this other stuff, and hemp and all this crap. But there's one paragraph where it talks about these photos that exist of Agricultural Commissioner Miller, and one involves him laying in bed with a blonde woman, and then the other photo involves the naked backside of another woman. And there's not really an explanation of what this is or who it is. Like, I guess Commissioner Miller says that one of them is a woman in the hospital, and then the other one is his wife, but they don't really go into it. They don't say if they fact checked it or anything, or if they looked to see who the woman was. So it's very odd.
That's bizarre. So I have a more macro question for you on this. Like, it seems to me on the national state level, I'm sure many state houses are similar to Texas, that the personal behavior of elected officials compared to regular people, there seem to be many more instances of abhorrent behavior, whether it's corruption or personal failings or whatever. And with all your experience reporting on this, how do I phrase this question? Does politics attract monsters, or does it create them? I guess is the question that I have.
Yeah, I spent a lot of time thinking about this and talking about this with people, actually, that exact same question. I feel like I've actually had people come at me with my answer, and I'm like, okay, so other people are thinking this too. You've got these politicians that were, and not all, of course, I'm generalizing. So for the politicians watching this that get pissed off about this, I'm generalizing. We have a lot of these politicians that were maybe very nerdy, very dorky in school, right? Not the most popular, right?
Yeah.
And then they get elected to office, and now all of a sudden they're cool. Now all of a sudden they're like a quasi celebrity, right? Like, you've got staffers and people wanted to do interviews with you, and people come into your office, right? And now you're kind of like, you're getting overwhelmed with like kind of women wanting to take photos with you, and late night drinking and parties and backroom deals and stuff like that. And like, you kind of just get involved in the things and territory that you didn't experience for your school. I was a nerdy kid in school, so I didn't experience it either. But I imagine that most of these people experience this in college or high school, this level of popularity or whatever you want to call it, and they get it out of their system, and then they move on to adulthood, and they're like, oh, I'm not going to do any of this because this was like, I've already experienced this, right? So I do wonder often if it's a case of that.
You're saying something like you sow your oats early on, and then you calm down, and you've gotten that out of your system. You don't need to go out and go wild anymore.
Yeah, kind of like drinking, when you're prior to 21, if you drank, you kind of did your partying, and you get blackout drunk, you vomit, or you do stupid stuff, and you get it out of your system in your college years or your high school years, right? Depending. And then you get into adulthood, and you know better not to like, hey, I'm not going to have like 12 margaritas and black out at the restaurant, because it's like, you've experienced that, right? So I think a lot of these reps and politicians maybe don't get to experience it until too late.
Yeah, blacking out at the restaurant is a big no-go.
It happens.
I mean, don't black out. That's a terrible idea. But blacking out the restaurant that's always like the worst friend ever. Like no one likes to be around that. It's the worst.
Right.
Michael.
And there.
So, I want to ask you, I want to talk to you about, why the fuck was SB3? And
man, I don't know.
The Texas Ledge. Why was it number 3? Why is that? Why? I mean, I was talking to somebody about this the other day, and like, I get it. I could imagine it being SB, I don't know, 782 or something like that. And for those that don't know, whatever, the number matters. It's like the SB1 is what, the budget?
Budget. Yeah.
SB2 is SB2
choice in this case.
School choice.
School choice in this case. Yeah.
It's right behind school choice and the budget. And I would think I don't fucking get it. Like, why all of a sudden this has been happening for several sessions? Why all of a sudden is this happening?
Yeah, I kept asking people. I was like, man, it looks like the lieutenant governor almost has like a personal grudge against this stuff. Like he gets very emotional. Like, did you see that that press conference where he's throwing the products at people? And I'm just like, man, this guy's really, really emotional about this. Is something happening? Or
someone asking just a question?
Yeah. Man, I don't know. It's very interesting, right? Like you got to wonder is like there's other money involved because the alcoholic beverage companies, they don't like weed. They're fighting for shelf space, right? When you've got somebody that's had a long day at work and they go to the gas station and they need something to relieve the stress, if you own an alcohol company, you want them going to buy the beer, or the liquor. But what's starting to happen is people are right. But what's happening now is people are buying the pot, the weed, I don't smoke, so whatever the DHC or whatever the hell whatever the heck the weed stuff, right?
Are you trying to say DMT? People are buying DMT?
No, the THC stuff, whatever. I don't know. It shows you can tell how much I see. I go home and I'm stressed. I play video games. That's my stress relief. I don't drink or smoke weed. But so like these alcoholic beverage companies, they want people not consuming those products. So they want this shelf space, they want this attention. And so you have seen, I believe, some money from them lobbying to ban this, if I recall correctly. I could be wrong. So I think that's part of it, right? And you talk to the most traditional conservative grassroots people and politicians, and they hate this stuff anyway. I mean, and they're not wrong. It does smell bad. You go to Austin or you go to any other, like go Chicago or any other city where they have this around, and you're walking around casually with your family and to get some food, and you're smelling like pot, and it's kind of like I would say the smell of smoke, like cigarette smoke, smells better than pot, in my opinion. But but to your point, I don't know why it's SB3. Like I would assume there's so many more things that I think are more important than that. But
would you say that maybe, I don't know, Republicans, even Democrats, but independents, certainly, you think they care more about property taxes, perhaps?
I have not, and I talked to a lot of people, right?
I've heard that Republicans care about property taxes. I've heard that a few times, but
many people are saying that. Yeah. Yeah. I have not met a single person that says, you know what, Tony, the thing on my mind this session and that's been bugging me is weed. Weed is just destroying my life. Like, oh, do you consume it? No, I don't consume it. But everybody else smoking weed, that's destroying my day-to-day. Here's a text. And like, nobody says that. Nobody's saying it. It's property taxes. It's illegal immigration. It's a million other things. It's the indoctrination of children in schools. That all is at top of mind, not some pothead, getting high at his home. Like, nobody cares.
Yeah, this thing just got so off the rails. He played such a strong hand. The sense I get from him from those press conferences is he's a little defensive, I think, because he's uncertain of his arguments. Like he knows deep down that this is he's making a bad case for this. And if he were saying, let's regulate this stuff to keep it out of kids' hands, please go for it. We're all for it. But when you're talking about, and now my California libertarian roots come out. Like when you're talking about adults,
when he says libertarian, he means liberal.
When you're talking about adults, like making decisions about what they put in their own bodies, like, come on, Dan Patrick.
Yeah,
what are we doing here? I know we're Texas. I get that. I've been here 15 years, but like, we can make decisions for ourselves. We don't need the state telling us what we can or cannot put in our bodies.
You can also make the very generic argument that like alcohol is worse than weed, and I that is I believe factually true in my opinion. Like it is. And I've had this conversation with a buddy who's like a very, very traditional conservative Christian like person, and he's like, well, the issue is though is that like drinking and alcohol is like American. That's like part of our culture. Like people, you have business deals over liquor, over drinks, right? You have wine at the dinner table. Like this is the thing, right? And like you can't remove part of American culture because you have a problem with that. We tried that, it didn't work, right? And I stupidly understand that argument. I think it's bullshit, but I kind of understand that argument. But it is very tiresome to have to see this as at the top of mind. And I think it's put a lot of the reps in bad positions to be forced to vote for this thing because they don't want to piss off Dan Patrick.
I think there's something to what he's saying, that alcohol is so ingrained in American culture that it just can't, like the genie's out of the bottle. But if you're going to make the argument that this is about the health of Texans, and Dan Patrick put out a newsletter, THC equals Texans health compromise, like, okay, calm down. Wine moms are doing terrible things to their bodies and oftentimes their families and spirits and children and all sorts of stuff. It's not good. And those people that are going for the mad dog after work to relax, well, they're not doing great either.
Or just look at the food, right? Like you don't even have to limit it to alcohol. If you're worried about Americans or Texans' health, look at like, I don't know if you guys ever travel overseas. You go overseas to like a European or Asian country and you come back and you get off at DFW or a local airport and you're like, oh crap, everybody here is XXL. Like, yeah, I'm back in America. I'm back in Texas. Like the people here are huge and it's clearly not healthy. So if you're worried about the health, like maybe go after the fast food companies or the soda lobby. I don't know.
Yeah.
Sugar. Yeah. I mean, if we're talking about health, we're talking about smoking. I mean, I just GBT'd it right there. Smoking causes 600,000 or so deaths a year, preventable deaths a year. Alcohol is about 100,000. Weed is a big fat 0. And then heart disease is up above smoking from diet related stuff. So if we're talking health, like let's talk, that's the case you want to make, like, that's what I mean when I say he's not certain in his arguments, because it's a bad argument and it's not true.
Business deals are done over cigarettes all the time. Okay. You have to keep cigarettes. But I do subscribe to...
I'm not saying ban them.
I'm joking.
Adults can make decisions.
Well, and this is not defending, government intervention into any of this, but I read this so long ago and I don't remember where I read it or anything like that, but it really rang true that a functioning society can really only sustain like 3 or 4 common vices. And that could be like alcohol or cigarettes or caffeine or whatever. Like if the more vices you add to a society, the more breakdown happens. I'm not saying that Dan Patrick and look around.
That's an argument I would buy I find that more believable or at least more convincing than the health argument that like, yeah, we have too many vices. Like what do we got? We got alcohol, food, what else? Cigarettes,
shopping, porn,
yeah, video games, right? Like we just can't take any more vices. So yeah, I would argue that that's a better argument than just saying like, yeah, like we're worried about people's health. That's BS. You're not worried about their health. It's just we can't give anybody more vices, and that's probably a great argument. I mean, the average person, like you look at the average voter, like they're totally uninformed, and do you want this person who's like a total pothead like voting at the voting booth, like, or an alcoholic or a porn addicted person like voting at the voting booth, helping make decisions on legislation? Like, no, of course not, right? So why give them another vice?
Voting booths are, in Tony Ortiz's America, voting booths are an addict-free zone.
Yes, yeah, no addicts at the voting booth.
Well, it's worth a shot. It's going to be better than what we have now.
I've got some hot takes on stuff like that. Like, oh man, if you clip, somebody's going to clip this and it's going to haunt me in the rest of my life.
It's going to be us that clips it, Tony.
And that's fine. So like, I'm a big gun guy. Sure. I own quite a lot of guns. Okay. I love guns. I used to go 2 or 3 times a month to go to the range and just shoot. My wife shoots, she carries, she's a better shot at a pistol than me. But big on guns. That all to say, of course, where's the but, right? That all to say, like, people will argue against these like red flag laws and about people having the right to own guns. And I look at the average person or average dumb person, and I'm like, does this person, do I want this person? They can't even drive a car. Like, do I want this person to own a firearm, or at least make it easy for them to own a firearm? Like, no. Like, I do think that it should be harder to own a gun. And that's going to piss off a ton of people, because I'm a very but like I look at it from the side of like, there are so many really, really dumb people. There's so many people that I wouldn't trust with driving a car or having a driver's license, let alone owning a gun, right? Or I often say, like, we should probably IQ test people before they even be allowed to vote. And you want me to let them like own a gun? Like, yes, I do believe all people should be allowed to, but it shouldn't be easy. It should definitely be a lot harder. And that's man, that's probably a really hot take for sure, especially on my side.
I mean, I'm getting a little triggered here, Tony. I don't even know where to begin.
Bunch of idiots with weed and guns, man.
Weed, guns,
recipe for disaster.
Just like, yeah, there's just too many vices.
We live in idiocracy.
Weed,
yeah, and it's too much, man.
Weed, guns, and porn. I think, isn't that like the Gen Z's tagline? Is that what that is?
Yeah, I don't know. Gen Z, they have a whole bunch of other problems, man. There's that generation's screwed. Talk about.
Why do you say that?
For lots of reasons.
I'm hopeful for Gen Z. I got some.
No, they're
Gen
cooked.
Z. What?
Gen Alpha might be okay, but Gen Z is totally cooked. For
Gen
a lot of
Alpha
reasons.
Is the one like they're in high school now?
I think they're like in high school or elementary or middle school or something right now.
I think my oldest son might be Gen Alpha. Okay.
Yeah. Gen Z grew up in COVID, right? In their most formative years, which is like the most important years, right? So they're already just like glued to their phones. These are the kids that grew up in the restaurant. We see them now, even partially, where you go to a restaurant and like some kids got a freaking tablet and they're sitting there while their parents talk away, and the kids just like watching some YouTube show. Like, there's no social interaction, right? And then like the economy's horrible. You know, like I've talked to a lot of Gen Zers like at events, and I'm like, you guys are cooked. Like, you're never going to be able to afford a home on your own without at minimum without dual income. But the best shot you have is your parents like pass away and they leave behind a home for you. That's the only way you're going to own a home, at least at the current rate things are going, right? And then when it comes to dating, I have quite a lot of Gen Z guy friends and female friends. The guy friends are completely checked out of dating. And this is the craziest thing to me. They're like in their early 20s, mid 20s, even late 20s. And not a single one of I shouldn't say not a single, like one of them out of like maybe my 10 Zoomer buddies is actively dating. They've just totally checked out. And it's not because they can't. These are good looking dudes. They're in good shape. They work out. They're funny. But they're just not interested. Right. And it's so weird to me, because at that age, that's all that mattered in life, was like going out on dates and meeting chicks. Like, that was like top of my mind every day, was like, what date can I set up for this weekend? Like, who am I going to see this weekend?
Why am I going to work right now? So that I can pay for this date later this week.
That's been the ultimate motivation for men for centuries, is you go to work, you dress nice, you attain money, you attain connections, you attain health in the pursuit of a woman, right? And they don't have that. There's no motivation for them. They have that. They don't have that at all. And then on the women's side, it's completely different. The women have these astronomical expectations of what like they want from a man. Like, I remember we went to this TPUSA has this event called the Young Women's Leadership Summit, and we get invited to go, and we interview a lot of the young women there. We were interviewing some Gen Z women, girls, and they're like, a lot of them, their minimum annual income for a guy in order to date them or qualify them for a date was like $500,000 a year. What? I'm not joking. That was their minimum. And it's almost like, do you know how much money that is? Like, right? And this was like, what was that?
Just for a date?
Just for a date, right? Just for a date. And anything, if you got a lower one than that, it was like $250,000, like 200,000, right? That was like, they were like really, for them, they were scraping the bottom of the barrel if they're going to date a guy who only makes $200K a year. So they have these astronomical expectations. And then the ones that are dating are, they're just like, they're having really bad experiences. They're all medicated, right? And so like the whole generation is just, it's a wash. I don't think they're going to do well.
Which explains why the guys are checked out. because
they don't make.
I think it's a little bit of both, right?
$500,000 a year.
I think it's a little bit of both. The guys feel checked out, at least from my opinion, is the women are just like have crazy expectations, and also like they're just not interested. They're busy with their other vices. They're too busy trying to be famous on YouTube or playing video games or whatever the case may be. Their vices are other things, and their motivation is to work, is to feed those vices. Whereas like I think you guys would agree, our motivation when we were younger to make money was to take women out on dates, not to play more video games or whatever the case may be.
Tony, they got all the apps and all the stuff these days. We didn't have those when we were that young. Like that,
the apps make it worse.
Yeah. The apps make it. The apps make it worse. No, it's I call it the Cheesecake Factory problem. But the label for it is the illusion of choice, right? So like I love these food restaurant shows where you send in like this asshole like Gordon Ramsay or whatever, and they go into like fix a restaurant. The first thing they do is they cut the menu down to like 3 or 4 items, right?
Yep.
Because when somebody goes to a restaurant, they open like a menu like the Cheesecake Factory, and it's got like 50 things in there. It takes forever to choose, right? Like me and the wife, we have date night every Wednesday, and if we go into a new restaurant, the first thing she'll do, because she knows herself, is she'll pull up the menu for the restaurant in the car while we're going there, so that she is not sitting there for 30 minutes trying to decide what she wants to eat, right? Because there's too many options. And so the apps like Tinder and Hinge have become the Cheesecake Factory problem, where if you're a woman, you go in there and you have the entire world of men at your fingertips, and there's too many options, and you're never satisfied. While you're on the date with guy A, 6 other dudes are DMing you or in your like swiping right on you that want to go on dates with you, and they're never happy. Like you'll see these girls end these dates because the guy's elbows were too pointy or his hair was goofy or something like very minuscule. And it was never like that before apps. Like you were limited to your dating pool was limited to your zip code way back in the day. And if you were lucky, it was limited to your state. Now your limits the world. I mean, these apps, Tinder has a feature, you can put in where you're going to go so that you can get a date before you arrive.
You're not getting dates on Tinder.
Me? Oh, I used to get dates on Tinder.
No, I'm not talking about you. The royal you. Everybody, no one's getting dates on Tinder. That's not what's happening on Tinder.
Well, it's very interesting. Match.com, before they got accused of being racist, used to post the dating metrics way back when we were younger. They used to post the dating metrics and what the stats were for dating and people accepting people. They used to even post the racial dating statistics. That's where they shut it down because people were like, this is way too real. But one of the things they noticed that men ranked women on a very normal curve on looks, right? Between 0 and 10. And the curve was very normal. Most women fell at 5 and less fell at 10. So it peaked normally, right? For an average. Women, however, on the opposite, ranked most men way below 5. And then like very few were like 9 or 10, like almost none. And so like there was that's kind of like this problem now where these kids are feeling it. And so maybe that's why they're not dating.
$500,000. I still can't believe it. Why would someone say that with a straight face? I mean, Heidi Klum can say that. Easy.
Yeah, and that's the other thing. It's like, yeah, you if you're gorgeous and you're connected and you're just like whatever, maybe you do have the right to kind of flex that. But these are like they're average girls at a convention.
So you brought up video games many times, Tony, and as a fellow video gamer, love a good video game. I mean, I'm kind of intrigued because it's as like an adult man, it's almost kind of like a dirty secret in a way. Like, ugh, I play video games, but it's fun. What are you playing?
It's a good escape, right? It's a good vice.
It's a great escape.
My wife is Japanese, so luckily, she understands, so she's cool with it. Right now, I'm playing Death Stranding 2.
Okay.
I'm a big Kojima shill, so everything that guy produces, I consume. So Metal Gear Solid, all of that. Yeah, so I'm playing that right now. It's really good.
I haven't dived into that one yet. I'm back on Skyrim. I don't know why.
Oh, okay. Yeah. Skyrim's good. I play
getting back into it for the second or third time. So Tony, I have to ask you a little bit about. We talk about national politics so much on this podcast, and Michael thinks that Epstein did nothing wrong. So I have to
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you pay attention a little bit. You don't have to like, you know, it's kind of weird that we were told that there was no video and then all of a sudden now there is a video, and that's kind of awkward. No one seems to ask that question or what happened, how the video got produced. Or is anybody going to get arrested? Hillary Clinton's getting, you know, in the news today and yesterday about being implicated in the whole Russia hoax thing. And we all kind of knew that. But like, okay, come on. Like, can you guys just shut up or something and just do something sometime at some point? Like, do you think anything's going to happen, or is this all fun times?
There's this meme. What is it? The nothing ever happened guy. And
nothing ever happens. I'm all in.
I'm all in on team. Nothing ever happens. This is all just noise to fundraise and get people excited, and it's all BS. Like, what was it?
Nothing ever happened.
Yeah, what was happening recently? I think that we were on the brink of war with somebody recently. Like, there's so much.
And you don't know who it was.
Iran.
Yeah, right. Those guys. And the group chat was just blowing up, and people were taking sides, right? The guy group chat just like split in sides, right? One side was like, "Oh, it's over. Some of us are getting drafted. You guys are screwed. Like, we're going to war." And the other side, where I was leading the charge, I was like, "Yeah, nothing's gonna happen." Like, I'm sure enough, nothing happened, because nothing ever happens. So yeah, this is all just noise. And you know, the Epstein files is like one of the bigger fumbles from the Trump administration. I mean, these guys, they flew in a bunch of idiotic paid influencers to the White House and then had them parade around with a binder. And these guys are all paid shills. We've covered it extensively. Almost every single person that showed up at that thing has been paid money to post things. Okay. And
even Cernovich?
Political stuff. Absolutely. Of course.
Cernovich. Okay.
Yeah. Cernovich is probably, I don't think, was Cernovich at that? I didn't remember seeing him in that photo. Maybe he was. But you had DC Drano was there. DC Drano was, I mean, this is public record. He was paid by the weed lobby to try to legalize marijuana in Florida. You had, you had a whole bunch of them. Even the Lives of TikTok chick has taken money to push stuff on the internet. And so you drag them all out to do this photo op, and they're all so excited and smug about this. These are people that never even paid attention to anything regarding Epstein because they just hopped into politics like 4 years ago. And like anybody who had been following the Epstein stuff since even around 2016 knew that those files that they gave them, all redacted, had already been published on the online unredacted. So they gave them stuff that was redacted that was already public. And so like these guys, of course, had no clue because they've only been in politics for like 3-4 years. And now they're saying, they call it phase one, and now they're saying, well, none of that is all. Yeah, there's none of that. There's no files.
Phase one, none of it exists.
By the way, there's Justine Maxwell lady. We don't know why she's actually in jail. Like, you know, it's like, let her out there. You know,
she's going to get pardoned. I've been making this call for weeks. She is going to get out of jail. Mark my words.
Actually, she probably shouldn't, because they're probably, the files are real. There probably is real stuff that she's done, that Epstein done. It's very, very bad. But unfortunately, they can't publish anything or prove any of that, or don't want to prove any of it. So yeah, she's going to get pardoned because they can't. Now people are asking, like, what is she in jail for then? Why did he kill himself then? Why did Epstein kill himself if there was nothing there?
So on the scale of from Epstein was just one douchebag procuring young girls for himself to he's a Mossad CIA asset that has blackmail on all these elected officials and businessmen. Where are you on that scale of what you think that was?
Most likely was like a foreign agent, and probably was a Mossad agent, right? Like, I'll tell you this, like, as a dude who's just living in Carrollton, Texas, that's just diddling around in Texas politics, and I see all this shit. Imagine a guy with unlimited monetary resources and connections and the kind of blackmail he's got, right? And the kind of things he's seen. Like, of course there's stuff going on in DC. These guys are even worse, right? And so, like, yeah, there's definitely had stuff on people, and he was definitely nobody's been able to explain how he attained his wealth necessarily, at least as far as I know. He was like, a math teacher, and then now all of a sudden he owns an island and all this stuff. Like, yeah, he's definitely a Mossad agent, which, like, whatever, you know, like, I'm sure the US has their own agents out in the field doing similarly crazy stuff.
Charles and I had a very fun argument on last week's show about George Santos and whether or not he should have been ejected from Congress. And I was saying, okay, yeah, there's some credit card fraud. He said he was on a volleyball team when he wasn't, like, fake persona on the campaign trail. But they all have fake personas on the campaign trail. Everything they say is a lie. That's where you start, and maybe you find the truth in it. You don't start with they're telling the truth and you find the lie. And Michael was saying that, okay, well, why George Santos? Why is the system why does the system kick out George Santos, but it protects people like Nancy Pelosi, for instance? And like, why? We all know that they're liars, and we all know that there's, crimes and misdemeanors abound. Why do you think that the George Santoses of the world get kicked out and the Nancy Pelosi's of the world stay in? And I don't mean to pick on those two specifically, but those were just the examples from last week.
Yeah, I would have to, if I had to take a wild guess, because I don't really mess with U.S. politics or national politics.
I'm sure it's very similar in Texas. I mean, it's all politics.
Yeah, my guess would be that he just was kind of like, what is it? The nail that sticks out gets hammered. He's kind of one of those guys where he just like made too much noise. He's probably a little too uncontrollable, maybe a little unstable. And he was just like the easiest person to kind of nail for something, right? I don't know. He's an interesting guy. I have a couple buddies that worked for him, and these guys are really cool and they're funny dudes. And if you ask me straight up what he did, I have no idea because I don't pay attention to stuff. I don't know what George Santos did. You said credit card fraud. That's all I know, that he committed credit card fraud. And now he's going away for how many years? Like 20 years?
I think he's going away for 7 years.
7 years.
And he says that it's going to be, it's his deathbed. Like he's going to get killed in prison. But
a gay man exaggerating, right? That never happens. But yeah, like he probably 7 years is probably like 5 years or 6 years, way too long. For credit card fraud.
The question is not so much about like George Santos specifically, but why does the system, like, why is it that why do they get away with so much? Why does the system insulate and protect certain people? Why is it even run by the people at this point?
I think a lot of people just benefit off of connections. Like you see it so much where like you see these stories in local municipalities where like a city councilman does something that gets him in trouble or gets pulled over for something and he gets a slap on the wrist, or they lose some files or whatever the case may be because he's married to so and so, or he's helped out the police chief who's done this and this and this. So like it's probably connections where everybody's scratching each other's back or doing something for somebody else, or they find a way. It was like, okay, we're going to do this for you, but you owe me a favor, right? So probably a lot of that.
That makes sense. Yeah, I mean, probably there certainly. Well, I think there was a judge that got pulled over for drunk driving or something like that in Austin somewhat recently, and yeah, it's always a slap on the wrist.
Yeah, of course.
Adler flies to Cabo in the middle of COVID, and who cares? No big deal.
It's all rules for thee, not for me. Yeah.
They have to maintain the illusion though too. The reality is they're running around corrupt on the taxpayer dime, banging each other, doing stuff they shouldn't do. And if that all came out, our already minuscule approval rating of Congress would drop to 0 and we'd kick all the bums out. So they have to kind of
banging each other.
Like, would people be upset? Like if news came out that Donald Trump was having an affair with AOC, do you think that Donald Trump would actually lose any like approval?
No, people would love it.
Yeah, it'd be like, wow, that's awesome. Like, dude,
I love the new FLOTUS.
People would love it.
The new FLOTUS.
I love her. She's awesome. You think AOC is going to be president? And
God, I hope not.
How many cycles until AOC is president?
God, hopefully more than I'm alive for.
It's probably gonna happen, guys.
It's probably something gonna happen. Yeah, this stuff's bad. I don't know.
Well,
at least she's good looking. At least there's that.
At least there's that, and it seems to always be the same. So what's the difference? At least she's good looking.
Right.
She won't release the Epstein files either.
She won't release them either.
Big deal.
Some Republican consultants excited at the fact of a Democrat president somewhere. So
someone somewhere, the consultants are always excited.
Yes.
Well, Tony Ortiz with Current Revolt. What's the website and social medias and all that jazz?
Yeah, currentrevolt.com. Twitter is /Current Revolt or @CurrentRevolt, whatever. Everything's just Current Revolt. So you can find us on Instagram too. That's it. We put out a newsletter every day. Try to. If there's news, this little like special session has been so boring. We had nothing this morning. I was like, there's nothing. We were in the chat like, we can talk about redistricting. I'm like, shit's boring. I don't give a care about redistricting. Like, it's important. Don't get me wrong, but it's like everybody and their mom's talking about it. I want to talk about it. But yeah, you can follow us all on that, and you can subscribe, and you'll get some Texas news in your inbox every morning.
I encourage everyone to do it because it is freaking awesome. Michael, any final thoughts?
No, just looking forward to your next stories.
Thank you. Yeah, me too.
Thanks, Tony.
Good seeing you guys.